Well, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. Actually, I'm in the Philippines, so it's really late at night, and Linda's in the beautiful state of Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so we are ready to have a casual conversation about many things to do with if you're a business owner, etc., and what they might do about looking at their business and valuation and all sorts of little tricks that Linda's learned along the way. Anyway, before we get going, thanks for your patience, Linda. Live streams are beautiful because you always have unplanned technical issues. we,
Just a few.
so if you are listening in, please support Linda and say hi in the comments. Otherwise, unless you do, we don't actually know that you're there. So that's the downside of the software. Anyway, I'm Bruce, also known as the guy in the blue shirt on LinkedIn. I have an organization called Process Cleanup, and we were just cleaning up some processes behind the scenes here. So, yeah, and that's, I also am a process guy, so I also like to talk about how people become LinkedIn Live guests, and I use a very simple process called the 4 C's, and I've been over this with Linda before, and so the C's are conversations that usually start in comments. They lead to people connecting with each other, and then if there's common ground in that connection, people will often start to feel part of a community of some sort. And I know Linda has many communities, both in person and online, like I do. And then through that community, you end up collaborating with people. So, conversations lead to a connection leads to community, and community leads to collaboration. So that's my 4 C's. That's my process lesson for the day. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Linda. And yeah, if any questions come up, I will attempt to look at the comments at the same time. I'm not so good at that, but all right, go ahead, Linda.
Well, let's see. So, Linda Boswell, I'm with Trans World Business Advisors, and we are a franchise of business brokerage firms, not only across the United States, but across the world. So we have over 300 offices, and they're all the way from across the United States into England, France, Spain, Japan, Singapore, Dubai, South Africa, and Australia, and beyond. So we sell all over because people are moving all over the world, as you have. You're a good example of people wanting businesses in other parts of the world. So if they want to come here to Texas, this is a great opportunity for them. This is a great business-friendly state. This is my fourth career. I was in the hotel business for many, many years, and then another aspect of travel. I actually had a home-based business for many years, selling jewelry, so that was a lot of fun. And then I went back into the corporate world, and then owned my own business again for a while. And when I found this 8 years ago, a gentleman had said, come work for me and help sell businesses. I've always loved economic development. Actually went to one of the cities here locally and tried to maybe get into their economic development program, but their economic development department, to bring businesses to that city. And unfortunately, literally a month before I'd hired somebody. So I found this, and this gentleman, really taught me that it's all about relationships. And so I had a lot of great relationships already from the past years of networking and being out in the world of small businesses. So this was a really good fit for me. So for 8 years, this is what I've been doing. It's probably my favorite job of anything I've ever done. I love getting up every morning and helping business owners to really pass their legacy on to someone else, usually younger with more energy. And that's really the crutch of it all, is that people are tired and they want to sell their business to someone that's going to continue that legacy. And I love that part of this business.
Yeah, it's so many common things there. So Yolanda Chin's actually in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She says hello. I can't quite read all the comment, Yolanda, because I'm not on my normal computer setup. I'm actually in a tiny little apartment, but 2 minutes walk from the beach in an island on the Philippines. So
Nice.
not to make anyone envious or jealous.
Maybe a little.
Well, actually, so Linda, you're a first. You're actually the first live stream using StreamYard from this location. So I was a little hesitant about whether it would work or not. And so I managed to figure out a quick little infrastructure for myself, and it seems to be working okay. So, it's amazing. People are pretty adaptive here, and that's actually why I like coming. It really gets me to be adaptive. And if you could see my computer screen, it's actually propped up on two aluminum buckets, literally.
Okay.
So I can stand up, and my laptop's kind of in front of me that I can't really see right now. But hey, we're just talking. And yeah, so Yolanda and I actually, last time I was back in Dallas Fort Worth, we met, and we try and always do that. She's a wonderful supporter. So if you don't know Yolanda, I would encourage you to reach out in the comments afterwards and see if you guys can meet. I think you're both in the northern part of the city as well. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yolanda. Awesome.
So it's interesting how we have so many things in common as well. And our legacy story is I actually think I pieced it together, Linda. I think we met originally at Success North Dallas. Does
Oh,
that ring a bell?
yeah, with Bill Wallace. Absolutely.
Yes, Bill Wallace, the king of the networking circles in,
He
in the
is the
Dallas Fort
king.
Worth area. And I think Success North Dallas is, I think, 35 years in a row without missing a beat, even through COVID. So
Yep,
yeah, Bill still supports the organization. I believe he has a different leader now,
he
but
does. Yep. Yeah.
great infrastructure. I think it's a lady leader, right?
It is a lady leader. I can't think of her name right now, but I was there when that transition was taking place. He had a few health issues, and so, but I
Right.
think he's all better now. And so she has taken the reins and run with it. They just have amazing guests at that event, and it's a really high caliber group of folks that are part of that organization, and I really enjoy it. It's a little far for me, and I have another group I do on Wednesdays, so I put it on hold for a little bit, and now I'm back again. It's a little closer for me, but yeah, I think that is possibly. And then up there in the Plano Frisco area, we did a few things together. So it was great when I saw how you've grown on on LinkedIn, and your career and your path has been amazing. And I love that you're able to go and do this in a beautiful place like the Philippines.
Yeah, so both personal and the business aspect actually is to do with my 3D home place behind me. It actually requires a pretty large amount of bandwidth in many areas of operation. So I figured I would, if I can make it work here, I can make it work anywhere on the planet.
I think there's a song about that. I think it's about New York though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So thank you for the coordination of how we first met. I just can't remember the year. I'm still struggling with the year. It might have been 2010, but I still not sure. But it's been a while,
Yeah,
so I love reconnecting with people. So
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, so there's a lot of fallacies, right, about business selling and business acquisition for sure. So perhaps go over, a couple of the things that always find that either mystify people or kind of people aren't quite sure of when they're either looking to buy or sell. So whichever way you want to approach that.
Well, I would say probably the first thing is there's a lot of business owners out there that don't even know I exist. They don't even know there's such a thing as a business broker, and they just think they're going to build their business, and then they think their kids are going to take it. Their kids don't want it, and now what do
Right.
I do? I close it down. So they tend to close it down, and that really breaks my heart because there's value in so much of that, especially if they've spent more than 5 or 10 years building it, and many have spent 25, 30, and 40 years building the business. So not even knowing I exist is one of the things I work hard to educate, which is why I do podcasts like this and try to get out and speak because people need to realize that what they've built has value to it. So
Mhm.
that's probably the first thing is we exist and we're here to help and we are intermediaries. So we actually work hard to go out and find buyers for your business as opposed to say like a real estate agent who's selling your home. They just list it on the MLS and pray for people to show up and buy your house, right? So we're strategic in that we go out and look for people that are looking to grow their business by acquiring a similar business or a horizontal or vertical line of businesses with it. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing is everyone tends to think that their business is worth more than it is. So it's kind of like a house. You know, I put a pool in, or I redid my kitchen, or I redid my bath, or whatever it may be, and now my house is worth, $750,000. Well, no, it's only worth $500,000 or $600,000, or whatever the amount may be. Similar in business, Bruce. It's, they do $1 million in revenue, and so their CPA says, well, then you can sell it for a 2 or 3 or 4 multiple. But the reality is, there's expenses in that business, right? So
Right.
you got to think about that. So if the expenses are $900,000 in that $1 million business, they're putting $100,000 in their pocket. Unfortunately, the business is probably worth $200,000 to $300,000. So the
Right.
hard thing for business owners to understand is they work so hard and they think they're going to get $1 million or more for their business, and the reality is, if they haven't controlled expenses, then it's probably worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Could be more, just depends, but that's the bottom line, is people need to realize that how they run their business and making sure those financials are clean and that they are able to see exactly what they're putting in their pocket. And that's what people are buying. People are buying, what am I putting in my pocket at the end of the day?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. And actually, Tracy Moorhead just popped on and said,
Oh,
yes, business brokers make a difference. Yes.
thanks, Tracy.
You
She's
have
a
a
wonderful
colleague.
financial planner. So see, and I love partners like that. So she's a financial planner and she grasps that. And so that's what she sent me many referrals. And I will say that that's one of the things I was going to bring up here is that financial planners are key. And the amount of business owners sometimes I speak to who don't have a financial planner, they need to have that in place, because there's going to be capital gains. 90%, 99% of the time, there's going to be capital gains. And how are you going to handle that? And what are the tax ramifications?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the legacy thing with the family, I actually want to come back to that because, interesting enough, I've been working on that in a different genre. So, towards the end, maybe see we could pick up on that, because I've been, again, doing some. Last couple of weeks, I've been really soul searching about some of that, and I wanted to actually share with you what I came up with, which might be interesting. So,
Okay.
we'll see. And yeah, so what are the other things that you find are either a mystery? Obviously, the timing and the evaluation is a big piece. Um, or maybe highlight a success story. Obviously, you don't have to say names, but perhaps highlight a success story where you have taken somebody through the end-to-end process, and let us know how that worked.
Okay, so got many success stories. I look over here and see, but I guess one of them I really loved was the husband and wife that owned a plumbing business. And there's good and bad to this, in the sense that had they come to me probably when they really wanted to sell, which was 3 years earlier, they had 14 trucks and the business was booming. And they didn't even know they could sell it. They knew their kids didn't want it, and so they kind of let it kind of dwindle out. Well, I got this referral from somebody who I'd sold their business, and they said, hey, they're looking to sell. Actually, I take that back. That was the banker. I did a podcast for a bank, and
Oh,
the banker said to them, hey, you need to talk to this lady. You don't need to close your business down. So so I met with them. They were down to 3 trucks and a trailer, and they had dropped from, I want to say, 20 plus employees down to about 8 or 10, I think. Anyways, they dropped considerably, but that was okay. It was still worth it. Once we did the valuation, they thought they were going to get nothing, and really they got uh, six, 7 figures plus on their business. So that was great. The sad thing is, I probably could have gotten probably 3 times more had they called me 3 years earlier when they were really booming. So one of the great stories there, one of the great things is, if you have a business and it's booming, but you're getting older and you're thinking 1 to 3 years, I want to get out. Let's talk now, right?
right.
Talk to a business broker now, because the reality is if you can keep that going over the next year, you probably can get 2 or 3 times more rather than letting it close down. So
Right.
it was a fun business. They're amazing people, but they were in their 70s, and they are the typical story, Bruce, of the people that were gonna sell in 2018 or 19, or they were gonna get out in 18 or 19. COVID hits in 20, and or maybe they're getting out in 21, and they're like, oh gosh. So either business was really great and they were like, wow, the money's flowing, and they continue to run the business, or business was horrible, and now in order to sell it, they needed to get the business back up. So for
Right.
them, business was still pretty good through COVID, and people were realizing that they had leaks in their leaks, and they had things in their house that needed fixing. So their business continued to do well, and then they were just exhausted because they had planned to retire in 2019, 2020. Here it was 2023, 2024. They were like, we got to get out. So and they were in their 70s.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a good, like you said, motto there, which is, before if possible, right? So start your planning before if possible, and also make sure, like you said, talk to somebody that can represent the best all round interest for the buyer and the seller, right?
Right.
Otherwise, it becomes a little tricky. Otherwise, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you another reason why, if you've got a small business, or you've got a business, any business, small or medium sized business, one of the things you also want to do is get a valuation in your business. Even if you're 10 years out, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a valuation on the business and see where you're at, so that you have a realistic idea. Because what if you come to me, or you come to a broker, and they tell you it's worth $1 million, okay,
Uh-huh.
and you're like, I thought it was worth 5. I can't sell till I get it. So now you have 3, 4, 5, 10 years to take it from $1 million to 10 million. Okay.
Right.
And we do have folks in our office called Exit Factor, where they will help people do that. They'll help them grow it to that level. That's what's beautiful about being with Transworld. We have people in here that will help with real estate. We have people who will help with the growth and acquisition side. And then we also have mergers and acquisitions. I tend to stick things under $5 million in sale price, so maybe 10 or 15 million in revenue. But I also sell, $100,000 pet grooming businesses, HVAC businesses for $200,000 to $400,000. So we do a wide range, but we have people that'll do the 35, $50 million deals. I just will either partner with them so I can learn more about that, or they'll run with it because they've done a lot of M&A stuff. So you want to plan ahead. That's the biggest thing.
So you have, so my interpretation of that is you have somebody that can do a build-up plan. Then, if the overall gross volume of the business isn't what the current owners want it to be, and that you have people that can partner to do that. Is that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I will tell you that I work with a lot of other coaches. Maybe someone's talking to another coach, and so they'll get with me for the valuation, and then I send them back to that coach to get them to grow it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting factor. And in fact, when you, in the introduction, just a little sidebar, you mentioned many of the countries you were in, which I wasn't aware of. But interestingly enough, in the last week, I think, with the exception of United Arab Emirates countries, I've actually been talking to Connection in all the other countries that you mentioned.
Well, good. Okay, there you go.
And in fact, out of the blue, because I'm on the same time zone as Singapore, there was some people I met a couple of years ago when I went to Singapore in the fall, and they messaged me out of the blue. I think they either saw one of my posts or just something told them to message me, and they touched base with me, and it's like, oh, I'm in the Philippines. And it turns out they had come to the Philippines only 4 months ago. So, it's a small world, that whole networking thing, right?
Absolutely, it is. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned about relationships, and I'm a big relational builder when I can be. So talk to us a little bit about how the relationships for you look. What does maybe a good referral look like for you? You mentioned a financial person or perhaps a banker, but Talk a little bit more about the networking, because you were actually at a networking meeting this morning, right?
I was actually. I told them all about this. So actually, Tracy was in that group. So I would say we're in Texas for sure. Relationships, all across the world, relationships are important, but particularly in certain parts of the country, you've got a relationship is what people want to do business with those they know, like, and trust. We all hear
Yeah,
that. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Sometimes you can know and like someone, but you don't really know them that well to trust them. And
right.
someone's trusting me with selling their, whether it be $100,000 business to their multi-million-dollar business, right? So it's kind of like a financial planner. Are you going to hand over 5,000 or 500,000 or 5 million to someone that you trust? Or you don't know very well. So trust is really important. So the relationship building is key. And I do a lot of networking for that reason. But again, I do these kinds of things also so people understand that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm here to truly help them to be able to grow it. So I find that getting to know people and getting to know what their needs are and what their pain points are and what their plan is when they retire, that's probably one of the biggest things. I talked to a foundation repair business the other day, and I said, well, when I sell this, what are you going to do? And his
Right.
was, I'm going to go live in St. John or Tortola for at least a year.
Hmm.
So the great thing about that is when things get rough in the thing, or maybe it's not selling as fast as they'd like, because sometimes that happens, I'm able to say, you know what, just take a deep breath, because remember, it's going to be really nice on the beaches of St. John with that margarita in your hand.
Yeah,
So it's
or you can go on walks like I've been doing for my health, and yeah, I'm walking 4 times the amount every day here, and still getting as much stuff kind of done. It's very interesting how when you change the little balance around, how it all kind of works out. So
yeah, yeah,
and what could be better than strategic planning? When you're walking on the beach, huh? So.
absolutely. That's my happy place, is the beach.
Yeah, there's something about the ocean. It's funny. I'm on an island where it's kind of long and thin, and it has what they call the front beach side and the back beach side. And the front beach side right now, it's in rainy season, so it's very windy. So I've been walking there predominantly all the time. And then this afternoon, I decided to go to back beach, and it was calm. I mean, it
Oh,
was like, but there was nobody there, so it was great.
okay.
It was calm, no wind, nobody there. It was like I was really in my happy spot, and I
Nice.
just wanted to get in the right headspace to do this tonight and
Mhm.
make sure it went okay, and so that's what I did to
Well, good.
prepare.
Well, good. Well, and that's a good thing. I just want to kind of maybe go back for a second on if anybody's listening in or hears this later on and they own a business and they're wondering if it's sellable. A couple of things I would just address to them perhaps might be that how many hats are they wearing? You
Right.
know, if you are go back to the plumbing, if you are the plumber that answers the phone and you go out and you go out and fix the toilet or the sink or whatever's wrong with it, and then you send the invoice and then you collect the money and then you take if you're doing everything in your business, it's basically a job. And
Right.
so much harder as solopreneurs, they may call it, but it's harder to sell a job. So if you're
Yeah.
building a business, you want to think about how many hats you can pass off to other people. Okay, delegate. Perhaps you're not an expert at the accounting part of it or the marketing part of it. Maybe that could be outsourced. So being able to pass those hats on to other people and those jobs, delegating is going to really help you grow that business. Um, Again, people don't necessarily want to buy a job. The reality is that businesses under $350,000, which is the majority of businesses that sell in this country, I don't know if anybody
Uh-huh.
knows that, but about 85% of businesses that sell in this country are, or sell across the world actually, are $350,000 or less. And you're
Oh
going to be,
wow.
yeah, you're buying a job for the first year or two until if you have the ability to take that and grow it to the next level and then the next level, then it becomes a business. And so helping people to turn it into a business is really what we want to try to do and strive to do. I sell a lot of businesses that are a job. I mean, I sold an HVAC business down in Houston a few months ago, and they have a couple techs, but the couple that was buying it, they're going to have to work in that business to really grow it over the next 2 or 3 years before it becomes a real business that they
Hmm.
can. But the great thing there is that they bought this business for a really great price. The seller was happy because he wanted to move out of the area that they were in. So it was a win-win for both of them. And the buyers have the knowledge. He'd been working for 20 years for another larger HVAC company. He knew how to grow it. So he
Right.
took this customers day one. This is why I tell people, be careful in starting your own business right now. Acquire another one, maybe acquire a small one, that under $350,000 business, and then you take your knowledge and you grow it. And that's really the one of the best things I can tell people is, I have a bar for sale, bar and restaurant for sale. It's great. It's like a sports dive bar, and a couple was thinking about buying it. They had some investor friends that were going to help them, and then they said, "Oh, we're looking at something else." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's fine." And then I call them up, "Hey, did you ever take care of that other bar?" They're like, "Oh, we're going to build," and I'm like, "You're going to do what?" So they're going to build $350,000, $400,000 bar leasehold improvement in the bar, and there's no customers day one, and I'm
Right.
thinking.
Yeah,
So
that's a big risk.
big risk. So in buying a business, I recommend buying a business as opposed to starting one. At least right now, in the economy we're in right now, it's customers day one. So that's kind of for the buyers. Go out and look for businesses with clean financials and
Right.
some infrastructure, some systems and processes in place a little bit, and then you take your knowledge and you run with it.
Yeah. We'll come back to that intellectual property thing because I kind of want to wrap up with that and share what I've been doing on that. But you raised a point about help with buying a business. And I know in the state of Arizona, there's actually some pretty good help for buying small businesses, particularly those solopreneur type businesses or real, less than 5 employees. And in fact, I know somebody recently that was helping me do something. He actually was able to get some help from different agencies to go buy a business in Arizona. So I don't know if that's available in Texas or how you handle that. What are your thoughts on that? Getting
Absolutely,
help?
absolutely. So there's a couple organizations here. There's SCORE, and SCORE is all volunteers. It's ex CFOs, CEOs, COOs, so C-suite folks that are either retired or semi-retired, and they help
Uh-huh.
small businesses to get their business up and running. Or if they're considering buying a business, they'll help them kind of look through it, make sure it's a good value for them, or kind of what they would be able to do with the business and run with it. And then we have SBDC, so the Small Business
Right.
Development Council. Actually, the lady that was in there, she just retired. I've been working with her for the past 8 years. I actually sold her. She had a small business of her own on the side. I actually helped her sell that business. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was amazing. And now she's retired. But that is a great place where a lot of times I send people there when they are getting an SBA loan. They need to come
Right.
up with a business plan, so they'll help them write the business plan. They need them to come up with a pro forma. They'll help them write the pro forma. So there's
Right.
a lot of added value for businesses to go to somewhere like SCORE and SBDC, and there's no cost to them to get that help.
Absolutely. Is that the SBDC? Is that still in Central Dallas or they're now a
So,
regional one?
so we have Dallas and Fort Worth. There's an office in both.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to go do a lot of the free training at the SBDC in downtown Dallas, and
Yeah.
again, it was like a resource that people didn't seem to use, and it's amazing how friendly and helpful they were, and right on point as well. So they would give you good information or give you time, and really guidance is the key thing. When you're kind of lost, you need that guidance, right? It's probably
Yeah.
the biggest property that you can get from somebody else is that guidance. So,
Yeah. No,
well,
they're,
cool.
that's a good point. Good resources. Absolutely.
Okay. So how do you feel about the legacy thing? You said that it kind of breaks your heart a little bit, and I don't know. Have you ever thought about is there a method to deal with that, or because I'd actually like to share what I'm doing, just my way of doing things. But anyway, so what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on?
Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts. For me, like I said, the hard part is that the kids don't want what the parents built. And a
Right.
lot of times it's because they didn't make it to their soccer game or to their recital. And so they're like, well, I don't want that. I want to spend time with my kids, right?
Right.
so, so some of them might have seen it as a break from their kids. No, I'm kidding. But the reality is that they are doing other things and they don't, unfortunately, here's another little side caveat is just that we don't teach our kids to become plumbers and HVAC and electricians, but those are great businesses to have and to get into because there's really great margins and cash flow and what have you in them. We teach
Yeah.
everybody to go to college, and that's great. But the number of the businesses in the service industry that I've sold, these guys went to work. I mean, they went to college, and then they're like, I don't want to. College isn't for everybody. We're
Right.
not we're all forced to go to college, but our parents push that. It seems like, and then you find those kids that that's not their gift, and so you put them in a trade school, and a trade school they can use their hands and their creativeness. So, but unfortunately, we just find that they don't want, even if it was a CPA firm that we could sell, or an insurance company, or anything like that, manufacturing, distribution, a roofing business, whatever it may be, they just don't want what their parents have. So,
Right.
being able to pass that on is a beautiful thing for me. I love that these plumbers that we sold their company. We sold it to a guy who owned a flooring business and a restoration company. So it was a
Right.
strategic buy for him, and they were so excited. They love this guy, and they can see how he's going to take it and take it. And they even said, we'll help him take it back up to 14, 15 trucks if they want. And so
Okay.
that's the beauty of it is I don't push any buyer on anybody. I'm like, here are the buyers that have come to the table. We interview
Mhm.
however many happen to come, 1, 2, 10. And then I try to keep it to under 6. But and you can look at these 5 or 6 people and decide who's your business, who are you going to pass that on to. So that's a huge plus. The part that breaks my heart is when the parents think that their kids want it and they don't.
Right. Well, the first example is actually a great example of a strategic community, right? Where somebody in the community might be a equally, gifted tradesperson, just not in that same trade, but adding another trade as a strategy. What a great synergy, and what a great win-win, right?
Yeah.
Because the buyer is passionate about adding the plumbing service in this case as a strategic synergy to what they already have, and the sellers are passionate because they see the new buyers, like, instead of my kids wanting it, right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
so all that energy keeps flowing and going, and which is great, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what's your take on that legacy side of it?
So mine's a little different. I'm kind of a quirky guy where I am a little hands on, but most of my intellectual properties between my ears.
Yeah.
So the IP between my ears, I've been trying to figure out, well, how do I divvy that up, or mine it, or quotient it out, or portion it out, and I've really been stuck. And what's interesting is in this 3D home place that I have, the platform owners have given me a digital twin of myself.
Okay.
He's called Bruce Blue, spelled Bleu. And Bruce Blue can actually talk to you, answer questions, and uncannily, he can strategically think like you, which is unbelievable. So in the last few weeks, I have been brain dumping my IP into a small IP, which we're calling an intellectual property person. So
Hmm.
that kind of idea had never come about before, and the platform owners are pretty excited about it. So Bruce Blue is becoming my small IP, which is my intellectual person of the IP stuck between my ears.
Okay.
So kind of a quasi transfer of knowledge, skill, whatever, but something I was searching for and had been vexing over, I guess, for a couple of years. Like, how do you effectively do that? And how do you effectively do it in a relational way, in an interpersonal way? So yeah, when people go visit my home place now, the first place they actually drop into when they register is they drop into the space that's owned by Bruce Blue, and they can walk up to him and they can talk to him. So,
Okay, so you've cloned yourself. I'd like to clone myself some days.
well, so yes, I have. So, but I clone myself in not all of the deep IP, the real, why would people buy my services, but in more the mundane things, right? And more the repetitive things, which, I spend, like most people, 80-90% of my time going over some of those repetitive things. So I'm training my intellectual person to take on board all that. So without actually buying an employee, I'm actually effectively buying an employee or vexing an employee. And, he has no attitude. He always shows up. He doesn't need to go to the bathroom. There's no employee, boss relationship issue. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. And he can work for you 24/7, can he?
Well, actually, he's on duty 24/7. Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone that spawns into this space, this is a little different. I need to update the graphic, but yes, and they spawn into the consultation room now. So Bruce Blue is on duty in the consultation room. So anyway, I don't know what you think about that concept or process, but because that legacy thing came up in this conversation, I
Yeah,
just want to run it by you live. That's the beauty of live, right? You can
yeah.
brainstorm live.
Yes, it is good. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. So if you come across somebody who wants to, brainstorm a digital twin of themselves, then
Okay.
that's how we could collaborate down the road for sure.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think everybody has stuff like here that they never ever think of passing on until either it's too late or they just don't think it's valuable, right?
Yeah.
And that's the sad piece. So
It
anyway,
is. It's my dad. I remember my dad saying, "There's a lot of people in the graveyard with a lot of great ideas, a lot of great inventions that never came out." And then I have another friend I met when I was in Toastmasters years ago. Wonderful German gal came to this country. Oh, I think about 10 years ago, and she calls herself um, shoot, an intelligence extractor or and
yeah,
I love that. So she pulls out of your head the things like systems and processes. I've used her when I've helped a business franchise. So I was helping a business franchise, and it was like a kind of like a fresh, or like it had a lot of recipes, not a lot of recipes, and they were all a lot in their heads, so they needed it
yeah,
written down, and all the processes and systems that they use to package them, to make to the recipes, how to make them, and then to package it, and then the marketing side of it. So all that needed to be extracted out of these two gals' heads, and that's what
right.
she worked on for them. So I love that that you've got an intelligence extractor.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty cool because I type it all into a certain piece of software, and the crazy thing is he learns. That's what is really scary. It's like
Wow.
not scary, but in a good way. It's
Yeah.
like, and so, and what I found is I purposely ask him the same question over and over and over again, and he gets better and better and better at answering more like I would.
Yeah.
So it's uncanny. It's like really weird.
That sounds cool
But
though.
it's reality and it's available today, right? So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. All
Nice.
right. Well, wonderful conversation. How do you like people to reach out to you if they have questions or want to know more about you or what you do?
Yep. So we have a Trans World site. So transworld.com/, DFW Central is really our
Okay.
site. It has all our listings on it. We have about 150 listings on there. And then I can be reached at my cell number is 817-755-1026. So that reaches
Okay.
me directly. So that's a great way. And, it doesn't cost anything to sit down and kind of talk about it. So I always say to people, like you said, what's your best referral? Someone looking to exit somewhere in the next 1 to maybe 10 years. 1 to 3 is if they want to get out quickly, 1 to 10 if they want to kind of grow it. And just, sit down and just see where you're at. We look at financials and, what's your value of your business? And
Awesome.
what's happening in it. Like I said, how many hats are you wearing? What do your financials look like? Those kinds of things are key because that's what buyers are going to look at. So you kind of need to put yourself in a buyer's mode, and sometimes you don't think about that because it's like the forest through the trees. You're in the middle of it all, and you're not really able to see on each side of it. So that's what we do. We come in as a third party kind of objective to say, perhaps you say you don't love the marketing side of it. Well, there's lots of great marketing companies out there that you could use to help market your business, or you've grown it and now you're kind of plateaued. So now how do we take it to the next level, or whatever it may be that's going on in your business? That's what we're here to kind of help you walk through and talk through.
Okay, so when this goes up as replay, be sure to go in. You can add comments like you're commenting on a regular post as soon as it hits. And I'll let you know as soon as it goes up there. It'll be a few minutes after we finish. So, yeah, please add your contact info and your preference and any other information that you'd like to. I'm not able to see all the comments, but there are some. So feel free to answer those, as I will do a little bit later. I'm going to be actually supporting somebody else shortly on launching one of their live streams. Actually, colleagues in this space. So they're going to be doing a get together in 3D.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, I appreciate you, us being able to collaborate again and get together. I love that we, like you said, it started with a conversation. We connected. We found a lot of common ground from the past and into the future, and being able to collaborate that and share this here on this platform. I love that. So thank you so much, Bruce, for this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. So don't run away.
I won't. I don't have anywhere to go.
Just hang with me. I'm going to do my little outtake. Here we go.
You're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse, and the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better, so you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
All right.
Nice.
So if you ever want a brand story advocate, Devin James, he's in Portland, Oregon. He's an amazing guy. Simple to work with. I didn't have to do too many outtakes with him to get that outtake. So
That's good.
did you see yourself on the beach at the end, Linda?
I saw myself on the beach with the debt-free in hand.
Looks just like you from the back, the lady in white.
That's great. Well, I love what you do. I love, again, you're right in there with me and trying to help businesses to, grow their business. And like you said, are they stagnated, or are they, they love their business and now they're, what do I do now? So I love that you do that because you've always had a passion for people and a heart for helping them. And again, that's why one of the reasons when I kept seeing you on LinkedIn, I thought, and then you saw this, you had a podcast. I'm like, we need to connect because what you do is so amazing, and again, it's helping those legacy continuation. So thank you.
I agree, and I'm gonna actually start. Now I kind of figured out a way. It may not be for everybody, but I'm pretty passionate. I feel that I'm not doing people the right service unless I start to explain to them, hey, you can get all this legacy and intellectual property between your ears shared now. It may not be their ideal way, but there's a way, right? And it's a pretty simple it takes time, like anything that you want to do well. You know, it's not short on time, but really big on impact, because, you know, the more I share with my intellectual person, the more it works. So yeah,
Awesome. That's great.
all good. All right. Well, just hang for a minute. Thank you so much. Thank you for all those that made comments. Some of them I know I can't see, partly because of my limited network here.
And I'm sorry I didn't get on my computer today. I would have had a nice background, and sorry about that.
Hey, actually, you know, Linda, I love live streams because it really shows the real person,
Yeah.
and I, you know, my background is there because my background is really ugly. So
No, it's not. It's cool. 3D.
no, I mean, if I didn't have this one,
Oh,
for
gotcha.
my yeah, it's
I can go
yes, what we take for granted here in the USA, we take for granted.
Here, I'll go like this. This is a nicer background.
Oh, very nice. There we go. See, you could have done it standing up from there. But anyway, it's great to see your heart and soul, Linda, and thank you for helping all the business owners and people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that you do. So I know people have a strong and high regard for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you. You have a
All
beautiful
right.
weekend.
All right. Just hang for a minute, and I'll let you know the end of the process. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.